Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever or whoever you may be. I am Alan Arante, and this is the Recluse podcast. On February 24th of 2019, I had the privilege and pleasure of recording a conversation with Doris Jean Adams and her family. She is my grandmother-in-law, she is 94, and she resides in Canada. This conversation took place while she was in town for the holidays. You'll notice that I'm completely absent from this conversation. My wife and her family are the ones doing the interviewing, considering they know her well. This is something that I wish I had done with my own grandfather before he died. In this interview, you'll hear 5 different people asking Doris questions. You'll hear her granddaughters, Angela and Natalie. You'll hear her daughter-in-law, Nancy. You'll hear her daughter, Doris, and you'll hear her son, Ken. You'll hear people in the background asking questions. You'll hear the microphone stand rubbing against the table as it moves from one person to the next person. You'll hear coughs. You'll hear short breaks in the conversation when someone is thinking of something to say. This isn't a polished interview, and that's not what it was recorded to be. But it is a candid moment that we can now observe in the amber. It is here for us to enjoy. This is a portrait of Doris Jean Adams.
I want to know why you and Dad decided to move to the Mountain Road, or Beaver Road.
Actually, the price, it was a Veterans Land Act. After the Second World War, veterans could build a house, and the government, bore $5,000 and you only pay $2,000 back. And I had saved war bonds during the war, so I bought the 10 acres with my money. He had nothing, not even a bank account. And in fact, when we got married, the bills started coming in for the suit he was married in, the hanky he was married in, his shoes. He had nothing. Flat broke. So not even a nickel.
Did you think he had money?
I think I had money. I had a bank account. I had war bonds, had a fur coat.
Did you think Poppy had money, though?
I did, because every place we went, he took a taxi. I thought the guy was loaded. Nothing. So what are your next question?
How many boyfriends did you have before Poppy?
Oh, a lot. Wow. A lot. As a matter of fact, just the Christmas before, this one boy gave me a beautiful, beautiful house coat, pale blue, cream lace, and I wore it on my honeymoon. Beautiful. You would have done the same.
How long did you date Poppy before you got married?
Oh, a year and a half before I got engaged. And I got engaged at Christmas and then married in February. Not a long engagement.
How did you meet him?
At a dance. I went to a dance with 3 girls. And we were going to leave the city right after spring, go to Banff in Lake Louise and make a lot of money. And he came in with a kid I went to public school with, and they recognized me. And he came over and he says, "Hello, Mary." And I said, "My name's not Margaret." So we went back to Bun. And he came back and he says, "Hello, Margaret." And I says, "My name's not Margaret." So he was smitten. So he came back the 3rd time. He says, "Well, it's Ross. Let's dance." And that was it. Very romantic. And when I got engaged, anyways, I worked nights, and they sent us home in a taxi, because I worked at this pulp mill. And Buster and Merle had come in from Red Rock, and I was going to meet his brother and sister-in-law. So the taxi took me to this hotel, and he met me outside, but I had to go over a huge snowdrift. So he reached out with his hands to help me over the snowdrift. And he says, "You're going to marry me, you know that, don't you?" And that was it. That's the height of his romantic, whatever. Zilch.
I know where it's at.
What would you guys do on dates?
Mostly go to dances or meet a bunch of people at a pub, beer parlor, and just sit and talk. Yeah. So what did you do on your dates?
Same thing.
What about Nancy? Where did you meet Kenny?
I met Kenny when a friend of mine came back to my house to...
You got to talk in the mic.
I met Kenny when a friend of mine came back to my house, Lisa Smith.
Oh.
She came back to get something she forgot because she had moved out, and he gave her a ride over to pick it up. And I was in the midst of cleaning my room and listening to rock and roll with a cape on. So that's how I met him.
And how long did you go to before you got married?
About 3.5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
One for me. How long do you guys go together? Oh, forever.
7.
Our wedding was our 7-year anniversary.
Okay. And the coldest wedding I've ever been at in my entire if I ever go to another wedding, it's going to be in July in Hawaii, where it's warm. I froze to death.
Noted. Or Leslie.
Or Leslie.
How long were you married before you had Uncle Ross?
Well, 2.5 years.
How did you find out you were pregnant?
Same way everybody does.
How did you tell Poppy?
I have no idea. Don't remember. How'd you tell Kenny?
Took a test, one of those home test things, and told him. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Same for all of them. Leslie, he was in shock for, though. He did not believe it with Leslie. He had no idea.
So how long have you been married right now?
35 years.
Wow. We were 56, and my mother and dad were 56, but my grandparents were 62. And I thought that was great. And I was telling a friend, she said, that's nothing. My parents are married 75 years. So
Yep.
everything's relative. Yeah.
Where is your side of the family from?
My side? My dad was born in Strathpeffer, Scotland. And my mother was born in Port Dover, Ontario.
And Poppy's side of the family?
His father was born in Cottageville, South Carolina, and his mother was born in Girvan, near Glasgow, Scotland.
You guys were neighbors when you were children, right?
We could go out my back door and into his back door, but I didn't know, there was a lane between the streets. So you go out my back door and cross the lane and go into his house. But I didn't know him then, As a matter of fact, he went to the same public school and high school as me, but he was a year ahead. So I never knew him,
How old were you when you met?
I have no idea. 23, 24, 22, I don't know, in there. Over 21.
Okay. What was your first job?
It's a job that doesn't even exist anymore. I was what they call a stenographer. The guy would call me in and dictate. I'd take it down in shorthand, and then I'd take it out and transcribe it, and then take it in at 5 o'clock, and he'd sign all the papers. There's no such a thing as a shorthand anymore, never mind, And so a lot of the jobs I had don't exist anymore. Like, I was a medical transcriber, and that was the same thing. They dictated into a tape, and you had to transcribe it. Now it's all, dictative.
They still do that now.
Hmm?
They still do that.
Oh, really?
They call it into a service.
Bet they make a lot more money than I did. Yeah, so.
What was your salary when you did this?
When I what?
How much money did they pay you?
Well, it's like, geez, I have it in a little book back home. I know, we used to work for $1.10 and $1.12 an hour, So, and if you got a raise, it was a 10-cent raise. They thought they were being kind to you.
Did you live at home when you were dating Poppy, or were you in that girl's house?
No, I lived there till I got married.
I thought you lived in a house with a bunch of girls.
Oh, I did in Ottawa during the war years. I took an exam for the civil service, and I passed, and they sent me a telegraph and come to Ottawa for $75 a month.
Okay, I want to hear the story about the conductor that locked you in the room on the train. And I want to hear the story about you chasing the wolf off with a broom.
Oh, the broom, yeah. Well, the wolf was not supposed to come until night. And this day at noon, I went out to throw out crumbs for the chickens, and this thing was chasing them. closer and closer to the house. So I ran out, and I was 9 months pregnant, and I got like 6 feet away from this animal, looking at it right in the eye, and I realized, geez, it's not a dog, it's a wolf. So, and here I was, not a broom in my hand, not a stick, nothing. So I raised my hands and screamed, and it ran away. And the rooster ran under the lumber pile. And when Bing came home from work, I told him, about the story. Well, there's a trail of feathers forever. And the rooster was under the lumber. He had to go and pull it out. And it was stark naked, because every time the wolf got a hold of it, he'd get a mouthful of feathers. And we never killed it. We called him Lucky. So, but the conductor, I never got in. What is that story?
When all the troops were heading off to the East Coast to get on the boats to go to the war, and you were on the train going somewhere.
Oh, I went to I had to go on the train from Fort William to Ottawa.
Right.
It was a troop train.
On a troop train filled with troops heading overseas.
Yeah, so they put me in a special compartment because I was a girl, and these are all guys, So, but nothing happened.
And he locked you in there, right?
Yeah, but I didn't realize why. I was too stupid. Yeah, that's a long time ago, Kenny.
That guy saved your life.
Yeah, but that boarding house, it was run by 2 women that were missionaries in Egypt, and the guy would get the Victoria Cross if he got in there. And my cousin's husband used to come and visit me, and we'd sit on the bench in the hall, and she'd sit right there and watch me. Like, this is my cousin's husband. I was bridesmaid. But they sat there and just, I don't know what they thought we were going to do, but we were just talking, So, he was in the Air Force then, too. So, that's a long time ago, Kenny.
Poppy lied to get into the Navy, right?
Yeah, he was sailing the North Atlantic when he was 15 from Halifax to Murmansk, Russia. And then when he turned, and another thing, when he got to Halifax, he got on a ship, a British ship, and went to Murmansk, Russia. And then he got back to Halifax, and he hopped on a train and came back to Fort William. Well, the British Navy came after him all the way to Fort William. They rapped on the door because he had jumped ship, and they're going to yank him back to England, probably put him in jail. But the police were there, too. Poor Mrs. Adams was having a heart attack. And he's a Canadian citizen. So in the meantime, he had joined the Canadian Navy, so they had to let him go. But they followed him all the way from England. They're going to arrest him because he jumped ship.
Why did he jump ship?
Well, he just got on the train to go home.
He just what happened?
The only way he could get back from England was to join the English Navy because they were going to Halifax. So in order for him to get home, he joined up, and then when he got to Halifax, he left the ship and took the train back to Thunder Bay. So they thought he was a British sailor that was AWOL.
Okay. Why was he there originally?
I don't know how he got. I think him and Buster got there on the Merchant Marines and got kind of marooned, and they couldn't get back.
He went to Halifax, and he looked up his brother, Buster, and he ate in wherever ship Buster was on. He ate, and then Buster said, "Stay right here till I come back," because he's going out. Some other guy talked him into getting to this other ship, the British ship, they're going, and they hopped on it. So. And he ended up he came back to Halifax, and then the cops came after him.
How old did he have to be to join the Navy?
17.
And he was 15 or 16?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he lost, what happened with the sub? Was it a German sub that they...
Yeah, the German sub.
Pardon?
When he lost the straw and was the one that had to go down in the German sub that they popped up?
Yeah, he had to go down in the sub, the German sub, to bring all these Germans up. And he's more afraid than they were, But when I was in grade 10, second year in high school, a lot of boys got up and walked out and joined up and never came back. And they didn't really worry how old you were to join up in the, if you could hold a gun there, they took you. So, a lot of 15-year-olds I know went to war. Imagine these punk.
Never came back.
I know. And one kid, shouldn't say this, but one day I skipped school with another fur girl. We went swimming, and the best looking guy in the whole class got up and he told them all off how they were juvenile and blah, blah, blah. And he walked out of the room and joined up, and we missed that because we had played hooky.
Did you skip school a lot?
I hated school. I hated it with a passion. I would have committed suicide to get out of school.
Why did you hate school?
I just hated it. I was bored stiff. My grades were bad. I just didn't like anything about it.
How did your father help you with math?
Oh, that dining room table you have, he'd sit there and he'd yell at me and pound the table and call me stupid. And, I guess that's why I hated school, He'd have me in tears, and my mother'd say, "Stop banging the table." Call me stupid. Yeah, so I hated
funny
school.
because I have the same childhood memories.
I hated to go to school. But that was even in public school, never mind high school. I just hated school. Didn't like anything about it.
Did you have any friends you hung out with? Did you have any friends you hung out with?
Yeah, I had a lot. I had Lois, Matt, good friends,
Did they like school?
Yeah,
Well, what was it about school you didn't like?
my grades.
But you remember everything from school, little songs and poems and...
Yeah. Oh, we had what they call memory work. We had a teacher. We had to have memory work. We learned the Charge of the Light Brigade and Flanders Fields, the Village Blacksmith, all these poems. And this teacher, if you even left a comma out or a semicolon, I saw him Friday night line up 27 of us and give us 2 straps on each hand. Put your hand out, and because we didn't get our memory work right. Never mind. We didn't misbehave. We were good. But just the guy is sadistic.
I think they call that child abuse. What poems? Can you recite a poem for us? Like the one you sang with
I know.
Kathleen?
What do you want? Flanders Fields?
Whatever you want.
All right. In Flanders Fields, the poppies grow between the crosses, row on row. And in the sky, and high up in the sky, the singing lark sings, scarce heard beneath the glens below. We're the dead. Short days ago, we lived, we loved, we saw sunset glow, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders Field. November the 11th, Remembrance Day.
Wow.
Better memory than you, Gene.
Sing about the garden gate.
What obnoxious needs?
The ones you sang with Kathleen, that song.
Oh, the other day?
Yeah.
I don't want to play in your yard. I don't like you anymore. You'll be sorry when you see me sliding down my cellar door. You cannot play in my rain barrel. You cannot climb my apple tree. I don't want to play in your yard because you won't be good to me. 80 years.
They both sang it.
And we learned the village blacksmith under the spreading chestnut tree, the village smithy grows. And we learned, of course, Charge of the Light Brigade, half a league onward and into the valley of death rode the 600. Yeah, we had. I don't think they have memory work these days.
Tell them the story about when you worked at the newspaper in the Stokely Carmichael.
Oh, God. We have proofreaders at the newspaper, and this day, the proofreader didn't show up, and they had a 15-year-old kid. And the typesetters would get the stories and type it, but we always put our own little something above because we knew the proofreader would cut it out and it wouldn't go. But this kid... So anyways, Charles de Gaulle came to Canada, and he raised his hand. He says, "Vive la France." And this guy's black, Stokely Carmichael. He was a comedian, but he was always stirring up the S, real troublemaker.
The what?
So
Stirring up the
anyways,
what?
on the story, underneath the headline, I put, this is de Gaulle, I put a French Stokely Carmichael, and it went.
They published it.
And they published the first round. It wasn't supposed to be in the paper to begin with, So anyways, And then these idiots at the newspaper, they had to phone San Diego to see what to do with this woman, that put this, Stokely Carmichael. I still have the clipping. And so they fired me. Then they phoned and asked me back. So the guy came in and he shook my hand. He said, they're sorry, it should never have happened. I mean, talk about idiots, So anyway, I was back because I quit the place twice. And I got a union in there, which they didn't approve of. And there, you talk about harassment. You start to be a union organizer, and oh my God, they'd take me out in the lawn on a table, 90 degrees, and pound, because I asked editorial, the composing room, the legal, to my house, and the management and the union to my house. So they banged the table, and you can't do that. And I said, don't you tell me who I can invite to my house, and I can't. But they had women that had Mrs. Knapp, complete nervous breakdowns. They were harassed so much. They'd be in the bathroom crying. I mean, they just went after people it was unbelievable, the harassment. And, but they had the wrong person with me. So I got the union in. And then they have what they call professional union breakers, and they bring him into wherever you work, and these guys work on people and get the union out. So
Union busters.
It's a real dirty world, Natalie. Mm-hmm. So now ask Jeannie some questions.
Wait.
I'm not being filmed.
Tell us about our dad's arrests.
About who?
Our dad, Kenny. His arrests. Trouble with the law.
When you went to court with Dorothy.
Oh, God. I had to go to court so many times with your dad. I felt like, who's that mother that had
Barker.
Yeah. Anyways, this time, my sister-in-law had come from Toronto. Her child is perfect. I had to take her with me to court with Kenny. So we're sitting in the court, and they read all these things off. They stopped him first because he had no tail light. And one violation after the other, they're reading. And the last one was no steering wheel. And everybody in court, you could hear him say, no steering wheel, And then one time I had to go to court with him because he rode a motorcycle on a private ranch in Lynn Ranch. Another time he rode a mini bike in the middle of T.O. Boulevard and Moore Park, all against the law. So, I mean, I felt like Ma Barker. I was in court. I said, geez, if you robbed a bank or did drugs, it'd be okay, but you got the dumbest things, So.
What about the time he lit a field on fire and you put the newspaper clipping in his baby book?
I did?
Yes.
I don't remember that. He was perfect.
You don't remember when he lit a field on fire?
No, he's perfect. You got the wrong person. My little boy wouldn't do that.
Don't you remember when he lit a field on fire and tried to put it out and burned his ankles? And he had burns all over his ankles?
No, I don't remember, Gene. He was perfect.
I think your memory's faulty or selective, one of the two.
Yeah.
One time
No.
he and,
But I remember...
were playing, I think it was Albert, and they were playing catch with something that was on fire. And
Flamethrower.
Was it a flamethrower?
That's the time.
I remember going to a teacher's, you have to go to meet the teacher. And I said to the teacher, I know exactly what you're going to say to me. What? He's the last to come in at recess. He hasn't the book open at the right page. His pencil's broken. I mean, that's Kenny. But she says, I like him.
Dad, come over here and tell us a story. Come on. Refresh Grandma's memory
About your antics as a child, like when you ran your arm over on the mini bike and stabbed your hand with your fishing knife all the way through your hand.
This isn't about me. It's about Mom.
What about when he had the machete and he almost lost your arm?
How'd he do that?
He went and bought a machete.
It was a diving knife.
Yeah, and he went in his bedroom, and all of a sudden he yelled, I've cut my arm off. And Ross yelled, don't get blood on the rug. And I took the machete back to where he bought it from, and they were so afraid of a lawsuit. They said, we'll give you your money right away, which they did. They should never have sold it to a 12-year-old to begin with. It's the kind they use in the ocean for cutting stuff down.
Yeah. 5 stitches.
Tell the story about you guys when you were playing pass with the road flare. Tell it into the mic.
That's the fire they were talking about.
Yeah, tell us about it.
We were playing catch with our baseball gloves and a road flare behind the library on St. Charles Place before there was any apartments, and the whole place burned down. And so we're making our getaway down Hillcrest, and some cop drives by and he stopped. And then we figured, why'd he stop? Until we looked at each other and we were all burned up and covered in smoke. And yeah.
Was Dave Knapp?
Dave, yeah. Cheap thrills.
Oh, and one night we were having dinner, and they said, dibs on Kenny's chicken. And him and his buddy, what's his name? Albert. They got on the bus, and they went to San Francisco. And Kenny had a Navy outfit on, and they got picked up, of course, by the police. And Mr.
Impersonating an officer.
Mr. Shotwell went and got them.
Huh?
How old was he?
15?
10, 12.
No, he was like 15.
14, I think, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, 14. And the reason I ran away was because Albert was running away, because Albert had to get a haircut. So I just went with Albert. So I really had no reason to run away. I spent 3 days in juvenile hall before they came and got us.
Anyways, they went to San Francisco because we'd been there maybe a couple of weeks before that. We went to Haight-Ashbury and all that. And so you took Albert to see Haight-Ashbury.
Yep. We're lucky we lived through it.
You know, I'm lucky I still have my sanity. And Jeannie was a perfect little angel.
Leslie wants to know, what's the drunkest you've ever been?
I've never been drunk.
Oh, I don't know. Albert's wedding, first wedding.
What about Albert's wedding?
Well, I had a few drinks, but I wasn't drunk. I was up dancing.
What about your Gallo wine year?
Spinata.
Yeah, well, I had those, but I didn't. It's like I have one drink every night with Jean while I'm down here. So,
Would you drink a lot when you went to the pubs with Poppy?
no. In fact, that's the first time I ever drank in my life was when I went to the pub with him. I never had a drink
What
before.
did you have?
What kind of drink would you drink?
I guess I'd have one beer and it'd last the whole night. So,
How old were you when you had your first kiss?
oh God, that one I remember. I was 16 and we're all sitting around and someone said, sweet 16 and never been kissed. And I said, that's me. So they grabbed me and pushed me down on the ground and I spit in his face.
Oh my God.
I don't even remember who the guy was.
I bet you he remembers you.
Who was your first kiss that wasn't terrible?
I have no idea.
Why do you always complain that we name our animals after your old boyfriends?
Because I don't think it's right.
But how do we know who your old boyfriends are?
Well, the first one, I was in high school, Jack Tickner.
Jack, that was our lab.
And then Jack Crow.
Jack Crow.
And my mother said, he'll never be anything. When I started going with him, he rode a bike and delivered meat from a meat market. Then they got into a truck. And my mother says, he'll never be anything but a truck driver. And he wasn't. He ended up as the captain of the fire department, still driving a truck. Fire truck. He looked like Ronald Reagan. Everybody said it. You know, he really did. So,
What other animals were named after your boyfriends?
just Jack and Hank.
There was one more.
Who was Hank?
Andrew, his name was. And he ended up teaching math in the high school. Yeah.
Did you kiss Poppy on the first date?
No. You know, we went quite a while before.
How long?
A couple months anyways.
Did she tell you how they met?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why did you guys move to California?
To get out of Thousand Oaks. Oh no, to California for the weather. The weather, cold northern Ontario. It started to be spring. Everything was melting, and he went to work. And when he came home, it was snow up to your hips. And he came into the kitchen. I said, we should move. So we started writing back and forth to San Francisco and L.A. I got papers delivered, the L.A. Times, and then we thought if we're moving for the weather, we might as well go all the way because San Francisco got a lot of rain. So we got on the Union Pacific in Minneapolis, 3 kids, and we were 2 days and 2 nights on the train. We even ended up in El Paso. And we got to L.A., and your dad said to the taxi driver, I want a clean and a cheap hotel. And he took us to 7th and Flower, which is the worst part of L.A. And then he phoned this woman, Janine McKee, and he was out of town, but he was on the football team that your grandfather was. So she said to tell Doris to pack up. And she came all the way in from Thousand Oaks. And if she lived in Huntington Beach or Newport Beach, that's where we would have ended up. But she lived in Thousand Oaks. And at that time, it was Conejo Valley. It wasn't Thousand Oaks. And 17,000 people. And so she came down and got us. And we ended up in Thousand Oaks.
Didn't we live there for 3 weeks?
Pardon?
Didn't we live there for 3 weeks with the McKees?
Yeah.
And then you rented the house on Penziamento?
Right.
And we all slept on a mattress on the floor?
Yeah.
Like typical immigrants?
All 3 kids on a mattress.
And we had one pan that you cooked in?
Yeah, it was a cake tan, because I brought a cake with me on the train. So we had the cake tan that we cook in that, And then we got, for Christmas, I got 4 glasses. They're 25 cents each. Bing got 4 socks, 2 pair of socks. And that was our Christmas. And then we got there in November. And then Kennedy was killed. And so we were brand new country, foreign country, the leaders shot, and nobody put any Christmas decorations up. It was horrible.
Oh, everyone cried.
That's a long time ago.
And then you guys moved to Penziamento and then Windsor Drive.
Right.
Tell us about the first year at Windsor Drive.
We never paid a cent. Whoever owned that house, something happened, and it's between the bank and the owner, and I don't know, it was a lot of legal stuff. And so when the year was up, we hadn't paid a nickel on, and that's what saved us. And so Bing said, if they're going to ask for the year's money, he said, we'll just move out. But they didn't. So then we bought the house. $17,995. That's what your house cost.
But how much did your car cost?
That's a junker car now.
So, okay, what else?
Tell us about the Golden Croquet tournaments.
Oh, yeah, they had croquet tournaments, and they painted the one croquet thing gold. And you'd think they were...
Tell about the people that were involved in it.
Well, the McKees.
All Canadians?
Yeah, of course. There was the McKees, the Coreys, us, one other family.
Dave Buchanan.
Yeah. So, but they played croquet, and they paint. In fact, Jeannie said at his funeral they had the.
They had if you won, you got to keep the golden croquet. It was on a plaque, and they put your name on it with that sticky tape. It wasn't embossed or anything. And they had that at Pat Corey's funeral. But really, it was a chance for everybody to get together and drink. And all the men would drink and knock the little ball around the backyards. It wasn't really an event.
They played till like 9:00 at night. They couldn't even see the damn thing. So it was just a drunken game. Mm-hmm. So,
Where were you and Poppy born?
When Poppy what?
Where were you born and Poppy?
I was born in Fort William, Ontario, which is now Thunder Bay. He was born in Souris, Manitoba. Souris.
And where was his family from?
Oh, she answered that.
Well, his dad, Cottageville, South Carolina. His mother, Girvan, Scotland. And see, his dad was a railroader. Some of the kids were born in different cities, and then when they landed up in Thunder Bay, Fort William, the rest of them were born in Fort William. So where was your dad born?
Thunder Bay.
No.
No? Where was he born?
Fort William.
Fort William. Ah.
Trick question.
Grandma, how do you spell it?
Ha ha ha. You're not going to get me. I'm old, but not stupid. I like the one best of all. I'd say to people, you're an American. How do you pronounce the capital of Florida, Miami or Miami? Alan? How?
What'd you say?
Oh, I know this.
I don't know how.
Tallahassee.
It's not Miami.
We like calling Los Angeles our capital.
I like that joke.
Tell us another joke.
What do you call a nun that walks in her sleep?
What?
A Roman Catholic. That's a clean joke.
Do you have dirty jokes? Tell us a dirty joke.
Oh, no.
Did she tell about an obscene phone call?
Tell us about your obscene phone call.
Well, I've only got one in my life. How many have you had?
Enough.
Really? I only got one. This guy phoned me, says, I want to kiss your pussy. And I said, buy your own damn cat. And
Pretty sharp, Doris.
I was pretty smart, I thought.
What's a...
I only got one. Have you got obscene calls?
No.
So then I put a whistle by the phone. You know, he had a whistle from football. I never got another call.
Tell us about the phone number you would give to people to call to hear the recording that was actually a wrong number. I think it was Inspector Clouseau and answered the phone. And you would tell people to call it and say, call Doris.
I had the wrong number, and I was phoning this guy from work about the union. And every time I phoned him, I got this Inspector Clouseau answer, you know. And finally, I got the real guy, and and he really chewed me out. So, but I was dialing the wrong number.
And she would tell it to all her friends, you got to hear this, call this number, and then tell them to call Doris. So this poor man was getting all these phone calls from different people that would say, call Doris. He was like being stalked.
Yeah. God, you got a better memory than me. I forgot about that. Well, that's when I was working in the union, you know, trying to get the union in. Mm-hmm. So, I'll tell you what I did with the union. I put 2 ads in the paper, and one was children's clothes from infant to 5, immaculate, nothing over, I think it was $1. And I only put the editor's address, no phone number, nothing. And the other one was firewood, all you want. And I put the business manager's address, no phone number. So Sunday, all these cars went to those 2 houses. And of course, and I did it anonymous, so they went to the editor and for firewood, all you want, all you can get, and children's clothes. I thought that was pretty smart, Jean.
She fought dirty.
How many times have you been fired?
3, twice from the same place. And then they'd phone and ask me back. I mean,
So why did they fire you besides the time you told us the first time?
well, Stokely Carmichael was one. And I guess because I was a union organizer, because then they find any excuse possible to get rid of you.
Well, that's 2. What about the third?
Pardon? Well, it was only twice. Yeah, so both from the News Chronicle.
Tell us about the place you worked when you were young, and if you were late, they didn't pay you for the day.
That was in Ottawa. If you were late 3 times in a month, you got no pay. You worked for nothing. And this girl would see us coming up the stairs. We're on the 3rd floor. And she'd take the book away. Like she'd see us coming down towards the book to sign in. So she took the book away from me. And I said, so if you think I'm working for nothing, you're crazy. And I walked out. Well, the shit hit the fan, and she really got into a lot of trouble for doing that. So I'm not working all day for nothing. Would you?
No.
Well, a lot of people did. She thought this power thing, if they're late, I'm going to take the book away and they'll get work for. But she got the wrong person. Well, would you have worked for nothing?
No.
I don't know.
Thank God. But a lot of people did. And I just told her,
It's all right.
I'm not working for nothing.
What was the necking questions you guys?
Necking?
I don't remember.
Okay, Jeannie, you ask Nancy some questions.
You're the star. You're the star of the show, Grandma.
Pardon?
You're the star of the show.
No.
How many boys have you kissed?
Hundreds. I have no idea. In fact, I didn't kiss them. They kissed me.
You never initiated it?
Hmm?
I don't want to ask that, actually.
What'd she say?
Did you ever want to kiss somebody?
Not really. Maybe Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
All right, so I asked them some questions, Gene. They're secrets.
What are your darkest secrets? You're the one being interviewed.
I know, and that's because I'm so beautiful.
And delusional.
Grandma,
Yeah.
what are you... Ask her about the pills.
What pills?
What does she take? Why does she take them?
Oh, why do you take pills?
You give them to me every night. 2 pills.
Yeah, but what do they do?
Why do you take the pills? What is the use of them?
Well, the doctor said I need them. One's for thyroid and one's for high blood pressure.
I thought they were one was so you're smart, and the other was to make you sexy.
Oh, right.
That's so attractive as you're rubbing your nose. Oh, right.
You realize you kids are really mean to me, and I'm such a nice person.
Next year.
Yeah, for years and years, I always said, next year I'm going to be nice. So I come in on January the 1st, and they say, now you're going to be nice. I said, no. I said, next year I'm going to be nice. So maybe next year I'll be nice.
Tell us about the neighbor that was stalking you after Poppy died. The guy that had the hots for you.
Oh, he made muffins for me, and he was really coming on all strong.
Never talked to her in 30 years till Poppy died. Then he was
Bringing me muffins and gifts, and the guy right across the street.
Was he cute?
He was like 90.
Yeah, he died.
And then he was in the hospital, and we went to visit him, and he said something about being modest in his diaper, and he pulled the sheet back, and he had a diaper on, and she just about died.
So did you. Yeah, well, we went to see somebody else in the hospital, and I realized he's dead, so we'll just go and say hi, I forgot about that. That kind of shook you up.
Well, seeing some old man flash is kind of weird.
Yeah, he did. But that's funny. Yeah, you never...
Tell us about how you were the queen of taking back things like the tree at Builder's Emporium.
And a bathtub.
And the bathtub.
Oh, the tree is in your front lawn. I bought that tree, a mulberry tree, and it died. And this kid, I told him about it, and he said, well, lady. So when he said that, it went right up to the top of my head, lady. And the way he said it, if you bring the tree back, I'll replace it. God, I went home, I dug that bloody tree up, I dragged it right through, and then brought another one home, planted it in your front lawn, and it's still there.
That huge...
tree. Yeah.
And I bought a bathtub, and Kenny scratched it. So I took it back and got the one you're using now.
How did he scratch it?
I guess unpacking it or whatever.
How about the condo you bought in Canada?
Oh, I took that back.
Wait, what?
You're allowed to take anything back. As a matter of fact, Jeannie, I'm taking those hearing aids back.
She bought a condo overlooking a lake. I don't know where it was. And I said, Poppy's going to go crazy in there. It had like a little tiny balcony to plant on. And so she went and got her money back.
Poppy bought it, not me. I never would have bought it. So anyways, I took it back. You're allowed to take anything back in 3 days if you buy. That's the law.
Even houses?
Even now, if you buy something you don't want it, you can take it back. The law says 3 days.
In Canada?
Here.
I think it's here too.
Except the car.
Yeah.
I don't think you can return houses either.
I'm glad I
Cancel the
didn't.
escrow within 30 days.
Yeah.
You can cancel escrow anytime you want.
That's the thing. Escrow's 30 days.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't end up in that condo. It was right on a lake. I forget the name of the lake, but
Long Lake.
no, it's another lake.
Why did you move back to Canada?
Well, we came up here for Expo. Your grandfather knew Vancouver and all because he sailed up and down this coast, the West Coast after the war, and he worked in Vancouver and he knew it. But anyway, we went to Expo and they were tourists, so we went all around and looked. Then we came over to the island, and it's so beautiful. And I says, I'm going to move there. And everybody says, you'll never move and leave your kids and grandkids. And I said, watch me. And it's the best thing I ever did.
So instead, we sent the grandkids up to you every summer.
Oh, I loved it.
Well, because you didn't do anything. Poppy did it all.
I did. I took them shopping. I took them.
Yeah, she's the one that would make us shower.
Yeah, but not comb your hair. I remember the first time she started with Natalie's hair at the very top without using any conditioner. And I said, you don't do it like that. I said, did you use conditioner? No. I said, you need to go back in there and use conditioner, and then you start at the bottom and work your way up. Which is why I always had my hair cut like a boy when I was a child.
Because you look good.
And you didn't have to fiddle with it.
You had nice curly hair. And you look good with short hair. Even today, you would look a lot better with short hair.
Your hair is short. Yeah.
I got a ponytail.
Because she's got a natural curl in it. You would look really nice.
Now you know where your dad got that statement from, and he said if I died, that he was going to cut off.
I wanted her to get her hair cut for her birthday, and I said I'd pay for it. But when I had you 4 kids up there, the 4 girls, I took them shopping to buy shoes, and every time I looked around, Heather wasn't there. She disappeared. And I said to her, you remember? I said, I'm not taking you shopping anymore. You don't know how to behave. And the next time I went shopping, I left her with Grandpa. Well, she just couldn't believe somebody would do that to her. And then I did it the second time. I took the 3 shopping and left her with Grandpa. So then she says, Grandma, I'll be really nice. So I went shopping, and this one acted up.
I did not.
This one meaning Angela.
That's right.
What did I do?
Well, you wouldn't stay with the rest of the. When I have 4 little girls, that's a
Are
big
you
responsibility.
Sure? That doesn't sound like
you
me.
You kept wandering away, and I kept yelling, "Get back here with the rest of us."
That sounds about right.
It does not.
It does.
I was the good, quiet one.
The good, quiet one who pinched that guy's butt in the museum.
Oh yeah. Tell us this story.
It's you. It's Natalie's fault.
I didn't pinch some stranger. I didn't tell you to pinch a stranger's butt.
You didn't explain the game.
I don't remember the game. Mom, come here and tell the story into this.
Oh yeah.
We were on our way to
No, into the mic.
Okay.
Come here.
We were going to the Royal British Museum in Victoria, and Tommy, my nephew, and Marshall, my other nephew, and Natalie were all playing. They were all playing a game with pinching each other. And so Angela wanted to get in on it. She was like only 2. She was almost 3. She went up and decided to pinch a stranger's butt. And the man thought she was trying to pick his pocket and was totally offended. And we're all like, oh, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. And Angela's like looking like, what? What did I do?
Natalie didn't explain the game well.
It's all Natalie's fault.
Well, that's a lot like your grandmother, because she was in a store one time and went up behind Poppy and patted on the butt and said, "Okay, honey, I'm ready to go." And a total stranger turned around.
Well, he had the same white hair and the same jacket. I said, "Let's go, I'm ready." So when he turned around, I said to him, "Well, I guess I made your day." Yeah, well, he's bent over, and I just gave him a little love tap.
You sexually assaulted a stranger.
Well,
You could have been our president. You could have been our president.
yeah, there you go.
Tell us your Trumpian views.
My what?
Your views about Trump.
Oh, I hate him.
Well, don't say anything about like killing him or wishing he was dead because we're being recorded.
I can't say a word, but I do pray every night that the American sniper will show up and make America great again. So what are they going to do to a 93-year-old lady? Put her in jail?
Well, you ban you from coming back in. They'll ban you from coming back in.
I doubt if I'll be ever back here, can't you?
Oh, every year we hear
No,
this.
I'm really failing.
Hey, according to Marshall, you got another 10 years.
Oh, Marshall's mental. I'll never make 10 years. I'll be lucky if I make 1 year.
You're outliving us all.
Yeah, keep collecting all those pensions and Social Security. You're just buffing up our inheritance.
It's really wonderful that I'm getting all that, I get, in the States, I get the Social Security and the Carpenters Union and 2 mortgages. And in Canada, I get old age and the Navy. So I can afford to go to McDonald's. And I'm good to you people with your money.
What's your favorite food?
Pork and beans.
What's your favorite dessert?
I guess anything chocolate.
What's your favorite alcohol?
What Jeannie gives me every night. What do you give me?
Bailey's on the rocks.
Yeah. But when I get home, I won't be getting it anymore.
Did you ever try marijuana?
No. I never smoked cigarettes, never mind marijuana.
Is it true that you once picked my dad's marijuana and made a bouquet out of it?
No. Yeah. Where would I find it?
Oh.
Poppy found it in his garden, and so he picked it and we put it on the table for dinner. And they were little like 6-inch stems were in a little bouquet. And then Kenny realized what it was. And Poppy said, "Don't put that shit in my garden anymore."
Oh, I never heard that.
You were there. Doesn't mean she heard it.
He was growing it in his garden? Huh.
Apparently.
But tell them how Angela found out about the pot. The
It
smell.
was Leslie.
Wasn't it Angela that went to the...
Leslie.
It was Leslie.
Oh,
Angela went to a show and then became a vegetarian.
I
was my
remember her
teenage
and Kathy. Yeah,
For 9 months.
yeah. But Kathy,
It won't work on your phone.
everybody's got those little gadgets.
She's
No,
not
his
feeling
phone,
good
yeah,
right now.
Android.
Yeah.
You go to the dentist, you go to the doctor. Everybody's sitting here doing that.
Just like you.
And you do it without a phone.
Yeah. So,
What was your favorite thing about Poppy?
I guess he has a good sense of humor. You gotta have that.
Yeah.
Without that, you forget it.
Who was the easiest child to raise?
Jeannie. Well, no, I don't. I'll take that back.
I take that back.
I think Ross.
Why?
The one you kicked out from his drunkenness?
Yeah. Well, he drinking a lot. And he came home and he threw up all over my white rug. And I said, "I love you dearly, but I'm not putting up with this. I said, your dad has to go to work. I have to go to work. The girls have to go to school. The others. And I said, you got to move out. So I knew he was coming home to eat at noon and take a shower because he was living in his car. And then he went up north to Oregon, I think. And then your dad came out to me. He was out in the garden. He said, you got a visitor. And he said, I got all this shit out of me now, Mom. And I said, okay, you're welcome. And he came back. But I didn't put up with what you're putting up with. And that's the end of my interview.
Are we finished?
I am.
Well, you don't have any other words of wisdom for us?
Be good.
Did you tell him how you killed the duck?
I didn't kill it, Jeannie. I just put it in my doll bed.
After you squeezed it to death.
Well, this lady had a duck and it disappeared, and they found it in my doll's bed. So I don't remember anything about it.
She was little, like 2 or 3, but she squeezed it to death.
You don't know.
Mom, tell us what you did to the conductors on the train by your house by Grandma when you were a kid. The what do you call those electric trolley cars that went by?
Oh, yeah.
Say that?
The streetcars, what you did with the streetcars.
Oh.
Come on. You're among family.
Streetcars go back and forth, and they have guy wires to hold the trolley. So we get 3 kids on this side of the street and 3 on that, and we go like this, and the trolley would pop off, and the streetcar would stop. And after we did it about 6 times, then the cops showed up. But by that time, we're long gone, But we just pop them off, just pull the guy wire, and the trolley fall off the wire. And
so you were like a vandal as a child.
Well, no, I was a sweet child.
What about when you tried to drown your brother in the baby buggy?
Oh, I didn't like him. I pushed the go-kart. My uncle had one of those things that a horse pulls and 2 people sit in it. So I pushed it down, put him in it, and I pushed it down the hill. It would have gone right down the hill into the lake, but it hit the fence and broke my uncle's fence and stopped. And he thought I was nice because I was giving him a ride. I really tried to kill him.
Tell us about your relationship with your brother.
Oh, I hated him. I couldn't go any place I couldn't go swimming with my friends. I couldn't go to the Saturday show with my friend unless I took Donald. I had to take him, and I hated him because I had to drag this little brother you should never do that. Make like you take this one every time, every place you went. You had to take Angela with you.
Angela wouldn't know.
What's your age difference?
3.
You're older.
Yeah.
Didn't
and
you?
Not only that, I never could get the family car. But as soon as he's 16, he got the car, because he's a boy. And then when I came back from Ottawa, I was giving my mother $35 a month. I find out Don's not giving her anything. I says, how come Don doesn't pay room and board? You're not ready for this. Because he's a boy and he has to buy suits and take girls out. And I said, if he can live off the fat of Dad, so can I. And I quit paying.
And didn't he used to drive by you when you were walking? And he'd drive by you.
Honk the horn. And I'm walking and he's got the family car. So it's not right.
And how generous is Don? Tell us about when you went on a trip with the sodas.
Where were?
Well, you were on a trip with Dad and Don and Verna.
Oh, he's so... Well, you know how cheap he is. But the very last night we were in Amsterdam, and we went to this really classy restaurant, and he ordered a wine, whether I don't know what color, but he didn't like it, so he ordered another wine. So then he's not going to pay for the first wine. It's like me ordering a piece of pie, and I take a bite and I don't like it, so he's not going to pay for the first. So Bing saw what was coming, so he gave me our money, and
left.
So he gave me the money to pay the bill. I'm going out for a cigarette. So Don starts, he's not going to pay this kid. And these are just college kids working, And I had 32 days of them. So I blew up and I said, for God's sakes, Don, pay the kid and quit being so damn cheap. And Verna just sat there. So,
Well,
he
remember
did.
The picture. There's a picture too, a group picture from your trip.
Oh, he's
You wouldn't pay
cheap.
for a copy of that
He's
either.
not frugal. He's cheap.
Yeah, I know.
What about when Cheryl asked about the picture of you guys in Rome?
Yeah, we have a big picture in our kitchen with us in front of the Coliseum. And what's her name? Your cousin, Cheryl. She says, how come my mother and dad don't have a picture like that? And I said, because he's too cheap to buy one.
So remember what we did
Gary-
with the names? We put names on everything. Like
Yeah, Gary knew what was going on.
And
So
we put Don's name on
they were $10, but it was a souvenir.
Yeah.
So
Wow. What's the secret to a long marriage?
I have no idea. Just show up every day. You never know what is a good marriage or a bad marriage, or you don't know what's going on in the house next door. Like the house next door to us, for years and years, he got drunk and beat his wife up, and I never knew it. And she'd disappear every once in a while because she's so badly bruised and that. But I always thought she was sick, See, what'd he
Did she
say?
have a lot of best friends? Like, what made them good friends? Ask her that.
Well, was it like Helen, the one we met?
What about like your best friends like Helen? What made them good friends?
Helen was more or less an orphan. Her dad was gone, her mother, so she'd go to church. She'd come back to our house every Sunday for lunch, and she'd come every Thursday night for dinner for choir practice. And my mother just took her under her arm,
Well, who did she live with?
With her, well, at that time, she lived 2 doors from us. They had the upstairs 2 bedrooms, her dad and her brother. And Mrs. Moore was mean to her. If she was kind of late for supper, she wouldn't feed her, So she came to our house all the time. My mother took her under her arm. So she was just there. Then her brother went overseas and got killed.
Didn't your mother do a lot for like the homeless people? They had her mailbox marked, right? They had.
The hobos.
Yeah.
They would come. Well, in that day, they were called hobos, but they'd rap at the back door and ask for a meal. So she'd cook the great big meal, but they had to work in the garden, do a little bit of hoeing or something. But everybody did that for the hobos. And my mother figured our house was marked because they'd miss 2 houses and then come to our house, so. But she always fed them a good meal. And she said, your boy could show up like that someday. And you'd see them on top of the railway, on the top of the boxcars going by, and you'd wave to them, But that was the Depression. They went any place where they could get a job or could eat. Times were tough.
What about when your dad took payment as a fiddle instead of money for gas?
Well, in the Depression, most people did, they'd share. Like he had a gas station, so he'd work on a guy's truck, and the guy would give him a bag of potatoes, or he'd work on another guy's car, and he'd give him, you swapped. But one day he came home with this fiddle, and my mother didn't want a fiddle. She wanted carrots or potatoes, And he picked up the fiddle, he started playing it. All these old Scottish, he could play the fiddle. We never knew it. So then I don't know what happened to it. It disappeared. But yeah, a lot of people.
Kind of surprising.
But nobody went without. They looked after each other. And people that were really poor, the Legion would look after them. If they were veterans, they'd give the kids Christmas gifts and look after the families. Not like Trump. Puts kids in cages.
True.
What's your favorite memory with Poppy?
My favorite what?
Memory with Poppy.
Oh, one time we went someplace and we went back to Dupar's. We used to all meet at Dupar's. And these kids were in a car. Their parents were in drinking and left the kids in the car. And he went into the bakery and came back and gave them each a gift, like a goodie. And I thought that was pretty nice.
What's your favorite memory with Jean?
Right now, how she looks after me. Feeds me and gives me baths and looks after me, tucks me in at night.
How about Kenny?
Kenny's good. When I had some kind of surgery, and I remember he brought water to me and helped me down. He was kind. He helped me down, up and down. I don't know what I was there for.
Maybe after
It was on Windsor Drive.
After your hip or before when you.
What'd she say?
Your hip.
After your hip or before your hip surgery?
Yeah, I had surgery of some kind.
What's your favorite memory with Ross?
Nanaimo what?
What's your favorite memory with Ross?
Ross is very good. He's right now, like, I give him my credit card. He goes to the grocery store and does all the shopping for me. Takes the garbage out, brings it in. He looks after me, you know.
Did you like being a mother?
Same as your mother.
She loves it.
What can we do? We're stuck with you. As a matter of fact, your mother put you kids in a carriage out on the street hoping somebody would steal you, but nobody took you.
Never.
Did you always want to have kids?
I never thought of it. You know, did you?
I knew I wanted kids.
Jeannie, did you ever think when you were growing up you wanted to have a family?
Yep.
I never thought of it.
What was the story when I was like in a crib and you put me outside for fresh air?
No,
And it was like
I put
5
all three
degrees.
of you outside for fresh air.
And it was like 5 degrees.
And at 0 you stayed in.
When it was 0, we stayed in. Otherwise, she stood in the warm kitchen and observed us.
Wait, Celsius or Fahrenheit?
All three of you were
Still
healthy.
0.
Listen, all three of you were healthy.
Tell us how you covered us up so the wind wouldn't take our breath away.
Well, everybody does that. You turn the carriage so the wind doesn't get you.
You'd be so arrested nowadays.
Everybody did it. You didn't keep your kid in the house on a fresh air is the best thing for you.
Did you ever give them brandy?
No.
What did you give them to keep them quiet?
What about the cough syrup?
The what?
The Benylin you used to give us.
Oh, that was for car sickness.
Yeah, but we would get it when we weren't in the car.
Well, Benylin's for a bad cough.
What's the codeine one? What was that one?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was Benylin. It was something else.
It was codeine. Wasn't there something with codeine?
Yeah. Well, it was for car sickness. Well, I gave it to you and you slept.
Outside in 0-degree weather, right?
Did they look unhealthy to you? You were all healthy until you started looking after yourself. And then you abused your bodies, smoking and drinking.
You brought this on yourself, Jean.
We had an example with Poppy.
What?
Poppy was our example.
Yeah.
What's the best meal you've ever cooked yourself?
I used to cook all the time until he took over, and then I just let him.
What was your specialty?
I had roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, and I was a good cook. And Jesse and Len would come for dinner, and they told me, and I made a great apple pie. But then he started taking over. So not being stupid, I let him.
When did he start taking over?
I don't know.
Her favorite meal to cook for us when we were kids was hamburger meat that was stuffed with 70% oatmeal, fried until it was rock hard in little patties, overboiled potatoes that had that flaky stuff on the edges because they were so cooked, and lima beans. and I have never served lima beans
I
again.
never served lima beans.
You can ask Kenny, Ross, all of us. That's what we ate. It was horrible.
Pork and beans. Well, I'm sorry you're such a fragile, dainty little thing.
You're evil.
You know, you guys have you've been really, really mean to me and knocking me, and I'm such a nice person.
Oh, man.
Alan likes me.
How did you learn to drive?
I guess you just got in and drove, you know. So you never had lessons.
Somebody had to teach you.
No one sat in the car with you as you learned?
I drove a truck first.
But who taught you how to drive it?
I guess I just watched Bing and then got in and did it.
You didn't drive until you were with Poppy?
I could drive when I was 16. Yeah, I could drive.
How about when you drove my van and wrecked it?
What van?
I think Nancy was with you.
I was with her. Yeah, it was a parking lot accident.
The parking lot accident.
You went to a rock concert.
What parking lot?
I don't know. You had my Home Depot, and you had my van, and you put a crease in it somewhere, and you said years later, years earlier, I had wrecked her car when I was at a rock concert. I hit something, and
You wiped the whole side of the car out.
and so when she wrecked my van, she said, "Well, I was at a rock concert."
You're lying, Jane.
No, it's true.
She backed into a Suburban.
Oh, bad.
She wiped. I had a brand new car. She wiped the whole side of it out.
Remember that, Bones?
Yeah, that was the guy pulled up the post. That was funny.
I'm like, what's that?
What did he say?
I was like, what's that noise? They were all yelling at me because I hit a post, and Poppy covered for me. I said somebody did it in the parking lot, and he goes, yeah, people do that. But he knew damn well I had done it.
Yeah. Are you finished with me? I have to go in the bedroom and cry now. You're being so cruel.
$500 remote control car.
Well, that was in my van too, wasn't it?
No, I thought it was in the LTD.
It was the LTD.
She was still driving the LTD.
They ran right under the front tire and they yelled at her, "Stop!"
When you were in the parking lot and ran over that $500 remote controlled car?
Well, it shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Well, didn't they tell you to stop?
I did stop. And then I heard this whir under the car, so I thought it had gone.
And so you ran it over and swished it?
No, I only ran over one. Then I started up the car and I heard a crunch. I thought, so I went home. I just said, sorry. Well, it shouldn't have been in the parking lot to begin with.
When was this?
Back when you might not even have been here.
Oh, no.
You were here. I think you were a little.
We're still living in California.
Yeah. Before Angela.
And did you tell them about the goat rider in the sky?
Oh, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. She had these two goats, and she's going to get Marshall's picture on one of the goats. So she's got this big goat. She picks up this little kid.
Poppy picked him.
Poppy did, to put on the goat for a ride. And she was holding the goat like backwards. She's just holding it. And the goat took off. And she's on the goat riding backwards. And the goat went around 100 miles an hour like, and then it fell on top of her. And David Knapp and I were standing up on the balcony. And I laughed so hard. She could have been dead. I was killing myself. And David says, Mrs. Adams, she could be hurt. And I'm still laughing. But that night when her husband phoned, I said, do you want to talk to the goat rider in the sky? And he didn't think that was funny. And I thought it was pretty witty.
That goat tripped and I flew off of him, and then he landed on me and knocked the wind out of me, so I couldn't get up right away. I was like breathless. It was Zephyr, because we put her on the female who just stood there, and didn't move. And so then I said, well, I'll hold Zephyr. I'll put his head between my legs and hold him, and you put Marshall on his back. But what he did is he popped his neck up, and I landed on his back backwards, and he took off running with me.
If we'd have had a picture of that, you'd have died laughing. Oh, it was the funniest thing.
Those same two goats and get a Porsche. She put them in the Porsche to take them to Ross's house in Somar to mow the lawn.
Wait, tell us about this.
I don't think I had the Porsche when I had the goats.
Put the goats in the Porsche.
Yep.
In your Porsche.
Well, the seat went down.
It's just, you don't put goats in a Porsche.
Why don't you put goats in a Porsche?
That was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Both Porsche or Porsche owners.
When Marshall was 21, he was dating this girl, and her car was kind of messy. And Poppy said, "Oh, that's not the girl for him. Have you seen the inside of her car?" And I said, "Are you kidding? When I was that age, I had goat shit in the inside of my car." He goes, "Oh, that's right."
So you took the goats to Ross's to mow his lawn?
We'll eat the weeds. I took them everywhere with me. We went hiking all the time.
The goats?
Yeah.
Goats were in the paper all the time because before Jance Road used to be where you used to drive on it and you could see their backyard, and then they moved the road. They changed the configuration of it so you don't see in that backyard anymore. But you used to see it.
And
the
she
goats
brought
would be
2
up on their
caiman
little
home
house
one
all the
time.
and they
You
were
know, they're
always
like an
in the
alligator. The caiman that you bought,
It's
and you
an
put a
alligator?
pencil in, you'd snap it like.
When I was about nine or 10, they had, it was White Front, was a big department store in Newbury Park, and I bought 2 caiman alligators that were about a foot long. And by the time we got rid of them, they were like about a foot and a half long. And I had them in a little pond, and used to have to feed them fish. And Ralph he bent over one day, and one bit him it was hanging on his hand like an earring. And he's like, hey, help me. And she gave him to some guy in the newspaper that later was arrested for having crocodiles, alligators, monkeys, parrots, all kinds of.
I put an ad in and free, and some guy came and took them. So. Well, you'd gone skiing. You just left them for me to look after.
So you gave them away while she was gone?
They did. They would get rid of Jeannie's things.
I
They
got
didn't
rid
like
of
when
them.
she was gone. Like the goats. Didn't they do that with the
Yeah.
goats too?
They'd snap a pencil
They took-
before
they
you
got
could
rid of
blink.
the
Why'd you get rid of Jeannie's goats?
Well, she's gone. She goes away for a week skiing. She leaves them for us to look after, so I got rid of them.
I did that once
That's all I needed.
with Bones.
That's all I needed.
You got rid of them because I was married and didn't live there anymore.
Pardon?
You got rid of them because I was married and didn't live there anymore.
I got rid of them because I wanted to get rid of them, and I did.
Yes, I was over there and the phone rang, and it was somebody inquiring about the free goats that ad in the paper.
You didn't even try and make money?
Well, the guy said he had a farm.
Yeah, a burrito farm.
Probably ate them.
All right. Anything else? Oh, God, Hank.
I think my interview is finished.
I think you've given us a very good one. Thank you, Grandma. We love you, Grandma. Thank you.